Story 1. The fire crackled and roared, a hungry beast consuming the Sodder family home. Inside, a desperate struggle for survival unfolded. George Sodder, a fiery Italian immigrant, fought his way through the smoke and flames, carrying his wife Jenny and 4 of their 9 children to safety. But the remaining 5, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Jr., and Betty, were lost in the inferno. The news of the fire spread like wildfire through Fayetteville, West Virginia. The small town, nestled amidst the rolling hills of Appalachia, was shaken to its core. The Sodders were a prominent family, respected for their hard work and resilience. George had built a successful trucking business, and Jenny was a loving mother who cared for their brood with unwavering devotion. The fire ravaged their home, leaving behind only a charred skeleton and a mountain of questions. Investigators combed through the debris, searching for clues about the missing children's fate. But the fire's intensity had destroyed any potential evidence. Days turned into weeks, then months, and still no answers emerged. George and Jenny refused to believe their children were gone. They clung to the hope that they had somehow survived the fire. They pointed to a series of unsettling events that preceded the tragedy, fueling their suspicions of foul play. They spoke of a stranger who had lingered near their home, asking curious questions about their family. They recalled a threatening phone call received shortly before the fire, a voice filled with malice, promising them harm. And then there was the inexplicable malfunction of their phone line, preventing them from calling for help during the fire's early stages. Desperate for answers, the Sodders hired private investigators and offered substantial rewards for information, leading to their children's whereabouts. They erected a large billboard along a busy highway, displaying the faces of their missing children and pleading for public assistance. Years passed, but the Sodders never lost faith. They held annual vigils on the anniversary of the fire, their cries for justice echoing through the valley. They continued to pursue leads, however faint, clinging to the hope of a reunion. In 1968, a glimmer of hope emerged. A woman claiming to be Betty Sodder contacted the family. She bore a striking resemblance to the missing girl and even shared details about her childhood that only Betty would know. The Sodders were ecstatic, their hearts overflowing with hope. But after thorough investigation and DNA testing, the woman's claims were proven false, leaving the family heartbroken once again. The Sodders' plight captured the nation's attention. Books and documentaries documented their story, keeping the mystery alive in the public eye. Despite the passage of time and the lack of concrete evidence, the question of what happened to the 5 Sodder children continues to haunt Fayetteville. Today, the Sodder tragedy remains a chilling, unsolved mystery. The unanswered questions linger, fueling speculation and theories. Some believe the children died in the fire, their remains consumed by the flames. Others suspect they were kidnapped, their lives forever changed by a sinister act. The truth may forever remain shrouded in the smoke and ashes of that fateful December night. But one thing is certain: the memory of the Sodder children and the unwavering love of their parents will continue to inspire hope, even in the face of a tragedy that remains unresolved. The story of the Sodder children is a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of hope. It is a testament to the love that binds a family together and the unwavering spirit of those who refuse to give up on the ones they love, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. The fire may have dimmed, but the embers of the Sodder family story continue to flicker, illuminating the path towards truth and justice, ensuring that the 5 missing children are never forgotten. Story 2. The old forest creaked and groaned as the night deepened. Michael crouched low behind a gnarled oak, peering through the undergrowth. His friend Dave lay beside him, breath misting in the chill. "You sure about this?" Dave whispered. Michael nodded, though doubt gnawed at his insides. Since the calico girl vanished a month ago, the woods seemed darker, holding unknown threats. But he had to know the truth. They crept on, guided by the thin beam of Dave's flashlight. Brambles snagged their clothes as shadows played tricks in the corners of their eyes. Michael's heart pounded louder with each step, deeper into the forest. Then, through the trees, a faint glow appeared. "Over there," Michael breathed. Pushing aside brush, they emerged in a small clearing. At its center stood a ramshackle wooden structure. Walls weathered gray, windows boarded shut. A single bulb flickered above the door, buzzing faintly in the stillness. "What is this place?" Dave whispered. Michael shook his head, dread coiling in his gut. He stepped forward, gravel crunching underfoot, and tried the door handle. It turned, hinges creaking as the door swung open. Musty air rushed out, carrying a strange chemical scent. Michael's hand flew to his nose and mouth. Inside, shadows danced where the bulb's glow failed to reach. A shape lay in the far corner, barely visible. Dave nudged him. "Look." On the wall beside the door, a row of Polaroids had been tacked up. Michael edged closer, peering at the grainy images in the dim light. His blood ran cold. Photos showed bound figures lying on a dirt floor, faces obscured. But one Polaroid made Michael's breath catch in his throat. Even through the blur, he recognized the striped shirt and short brown hair. It was Jenna, a girl from his class who'd gone missing a week ago. A blood-curdling scream suddenly split the night, echoing through the trees from somewhere close by. Michael and Dave bolted, crashing through the undergrowth in blind panic. They didn't stop running until they burst from the wood's edge, heaving for air. "We have to call the police," Michael panted, pulling out his phone with shaking hands. But when he looked at the screen, there were no bars. Dave grabbed his arm. "Forget it. Let's just get out of here." Michael shook his head stubbornly. "Not without telling someone. That place. There's something wrong with it." He started toward the road, Dave trailing reluctantly behind. But as they crested the last hill, Michael froze. In the distance, lights flashed and figures milled around the old shack, illuminating the clearing in an eerie glow. "The police," Michael breathed, relief flooding through him. But as they watched, the lights suddenly went dark. Silence fell once more over the forest depths, and Michael began to wonder if they had imagined it all. The old farmhouse loomed ahead through the rain, lashed windshield, windows like empty eyes, staring into the night. Michael gripped the passenger seat, knuckles white. Since fleeing the woods, he'd recounted their discovery over and over to his parents. But John dismissed it as kids letting imagination run wild. Now, 2 days later, strange noises plagued the house after dark. Reeks on the stairs when they were downstairs. Shadows passing outside. Shadows passing outside the windows. Emily pulled up to the porch, cutting the engine. "I'm sure it's just this old place, settling. Get some sleep. You've got a test tomorrow." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Michael nodded and hurried inside, shaking rain from his jacket. Upstairs, he cracked open his bedroom door. Wood groaned in the darkness as a floorboard creaked directly above his head. He froze, heart pounding. After several long moments, All fell silent once more. Michael let out a shaky breath and closed the door firmly. The next morning, he rose early to search the house alone. Starting in the basement, he ran his flashlight beam over dusty shelves and cobwebbed corners, finding nothing but spiders and mice. Heading upstairs, Michael paused at a narrow door in the hallway. It was always locked, but now the knob turned easily in his hand. Beyond lay a cramped attic, low rafters, crisscrossing the sloped ceiling. He climbed the folding stairs and swept his light around, coughing at the clouds of dust. Boxes and trunks lined the walls, coated in a layer of grime. Kneeling by an old steamer trunk, Michael blew away decades of dirt and opened the rusted latch. Inside lay stacks of yellowed newspapers. He lifted the first brittle page and froze, a chill seeping into his bones. The headline read, "Farmer questioned in disappearance of local girl." Scanning further, he learned of accusations against the property's former owner, Jacob Weber, and a girl named Anna, who'd gone missing in the 1960s. No body was ever found. A creak on the stairs jolted Michael from his reading. He scrambled to replace the papers and slammed the trunk shut just as his mother appeared in the attic doorway. "Breakfast is ready. What are you doing up here?" "Breakfast is ready. What are you doing up here?" "Just exploring." Michael hurried past, heart still racing. That night, he lay awake running his discovery over in his mind. The strange noises, the house's sinister past. It was all connected, he was sure of it. But how to convince his parents without proof? The next day after school, Michael lingered in the library, searching old microfiche records. There, amid blurry scans of decades, old articles, he found more about Anna Weber's disappearance and Jacob's rumored strange habits. Heading home as dusk fell, Michael took a shortcut through the forest. As the trees thickened, he began to feel watched and pulled his hood up, walking faster. But when he emerged onto his street, 2 police cruisers sat in the driveway. Dread gripped Michael's heart as he ran up to find his parents speaking gravely with officers on the porch. "What's going on?" His mother turned, eyes red, rimmed. Michael's blood ran cold. It was happening again, just like with Anna Weber all those years ago, and he knew with chilling certainty the killer was watching their family too. The rain fell in icy sheets as night descended. Inside the farmhouse, tension hung thick as the family sat in strained silence. Michael stared into the fire, turning over his discoveries. Jenna's grisly end only confirmed his theory that something evil lurked in these woods. But how to make his father see before it was too late? As if reading his thoughts, John spoke gruffly. "Enough of these wild stories, son. I know you're still adjusting to the move, but it's time to let this calico business go." Michael opened his mouth to argue, but Emily cut in. "Please, can we not fight tonight? I'm making tea. Who wants some?" She rose unsteadily and disappeared into the kitchen. A few moments later, her muffled scream pierced the house. Michael and John bolted to find her backed against the counter, hand over her mouth in horror. 3 long scratches marred the skin of her forearm, welling with blood. "It's here," Michael whispered. "We have to get out now." But as they grabbed coats to run for the car, headlights swept across the windows, followed by a deafening crash. They raced to the front door and froze. A massive oak had fallen, blocking their escape route under the pounding rain. John slammed his fist against the wall. "Damn it!" He turned to Michael with a look of grim resignation. "Get your mother upstairs. Bar the doors. I'm getting the guns. Michael helped Emily to the bedroom, where she sank onto the bed in shock. He closed the heavy oak door and dragged over an armchair to brace under the knob, heart in his throat. From downstairs came the sound of cabinets opening and closing. Then John's boots on the stairs. He threw open the bedroom door, face ashen, rifles in hand. "It's not here," he said hoarsely. "The guns are gone." A floorboard creaked directly overhead, as if in response. They slowly turned their gazes upward. Emily clutched Michael's arm, nails digging in painfully. "Please, let's just get out of here." John nodded and led the way down the hall, stopping before the attic door. He tried the knob. It turned, unlocked, exchanging a grim look. He pushed it open and started up, Michael following with a flashlight. The beam swept over boxes and trunks. Then, across the room, it fell upon a huddled shape. Michael froze, breath catching in horror. A pair of sightless eyes stared back from a pale, dirt-streaked face. It was Jenna. A crash sounded behind as the attic door slammed shut. They whirled to find Emily sprawled unconscious at the bottom of the folding stairs, and towering over her, backlit by the flickering bulb, stood a looming figure. 2 rifles were slung over its broad shoulders. Beneath the hood of a filthy rain slicker, only empty sockets glared back at them. A guttural laugh echoed in the small space. "Well, well, I've been waiting for you to find her." John lunged with a roar, but the figure was impossibly fast. It sidestepped his charge and brought the rifle butt down hard across his temple. John crumpled without a sound. "Now, it's just us," the thing rasped, turning its featureless face to Michael. "I've watched your family since you moved in, waiting to continue our game. It's time to join the others." Michael backed away in horror, tripping over a trunk. As the figure advanced with unnatural speed, he grabbed the only weapon within reach, a rusty hatchet. With a wordless yell, he swung wildly. The blade bit deep into flesh. The thing howled, stumbling back with a gush of black blood. It tore the hatchet free and flung it aside, baring yellowed teeth in a snarl. "You'll pay for that, boy." It lunged once more as Michael scrambled to his feet, dodging a swipe of the rifle. He bolted for the folding stairs, shoving them down with a crash. As the figure climbed over the wreckage, Michael raced downstairs, 2 at a time. He burst through the front door, into the raging storm, sprinting into the inky woods. Behind came the pursuer's rasping breaths, gaining with terrifying speed. Michael dodged between trees, branches whipping his face. But it was no use. His chest burned as exhaustion set in. Ahead lay a dark chasm. Swollen creek, waters roaring below. With the thing mere paces behind, Michael leapt without hesitation into the void. He plunged into the icy current and was swept away into the blackness. The killer's final enraged howl, fading into the night. Story 3. Years passed. The mystery of Lars's disappearance festering in the minds of those who loved him. His family refused to give up hope, clinging to the faint possibility that he might still be alive. They turned to the media, their desperate pleas echoing across international platforms. Private investigators were hired, combing through Toulouse's streets, searching for any clue, however small. One day, a retired detective named Jean-Pierre Dubois, drawn to the case by its sheer enigma, stumbled upon a missing piece. While reviewing the CCTV footage, he noticed a faint anomaly in the building Lars was last seen entering. It was a fleeting flicker, almost imperceptible to the naked eye, But to Dubois's trained mind, it screamed inconsistency. Focusing on that anomaly, Dubois discovered a hidden passage within the building. This passage, expertly concealed, led to a network of abandoned tunnels beneath the city. The tunnels, once part of an ancient aqueduct system, had been forgotten for centuries. With renewed hope, Dubois and his team, joined by Lars' determined family, ventured into the labyrinthine tunnels. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay, the silence broken only by their footsteps and the dripping of water. Hours turned into days as they explored the tunnels, each turn leading to a deeper mystery. Finally, in a cavernous chamber, they stumbled upon a sight that sent chills down their spines. It was a makeshift laboratory filled with strange equipment and half-finished experiments. But what truly shocked them was the sight of a man, gaunt and weak, chained to a wall. It was Lars. He was barely conscious, his mind fractured by years of captivity. The experiments, conducted by a deranged scientist obsessed with the human mind, had left him a shell of his former self. Yet, through the fog of his shattered mind, a glimmer of recognition shone in Lars's eyes when he saw his family. Reunited, they emerged from the darkness, blinking in the sunlight, after years of living in the shadows. The scientist, apprehended by the authorities, faced a long sentence for his crimes. Lars's recovery was a long and arduous journey. The psychological scars of his ordeal ran deep, but with the unwavering support of his family, he slowly began to rebuild his life. He learned to cope with his trauma, sharing his story to raise awareness about the dangers of human experimentation. Though his life took a detour into the darkness, Lars' story ultimately became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He emerged from the shadows, a beacon of hope for others who had been lost in the abyss. And while the memories of his captivity haunted him, they could not extinguish the flame of his will to live. He returned to the world, scarred but not broken, a testament to the enduring power of love and hope.